Can we add, subtract, multiply, and divide these functions, linear expressions? And the answer is yes. The notation is going to look a little different, but you'll get used to it soon enough. Okay, we're going to start with two examples. F of x is equal to x squared minus 3, and g of x is x squared plus 1. Can we find an expression that's the sum of the two functions evaluated at 5? That's what this means. Function f of x plus g of x evaluated at 5. Okay, so let's start by adding the functions f of x and g of x. So we have x squared plus 3, x squared minus 3, plus 2x plus 1. Let's go ahead and drop the parentheses. They don't really serve any function here. So we have x squared minus 3 plus 2x plus 1. We'll go ahead and rearrange this a little bit so that we have the polynomial in order of the powers of x. So we have x squared plus 2x minus 3 from here to there, minus 3 plus 1. And if we evaluate that, simplify that, that's simply minus 2. So the sum of f of x plus g of x is x squared plus 2x minus 2. Okay, let's evaluate this at x equals 5. A little typo there, we'll correct that. X equals 5. So f of x plus g of x evaluated at 5 would be x squared, or 5 squared, plus 2x, 2 times 5, minus 2. Well, 5 squared is 25, 2 times 5 is 10, minus 2, well, that's nothing changes there. So 25 plus 10 is 35, minus 2 is 33. So f of x plus g of x evaluated at 5 is equal to 33. I'm sure you'll find something similar to that. Here's our next one. We're going to see if we can divide. Let's see, f of x divided by g of x evaluated at minus the square root of 3. Well, let's take that ratio, f of x divided by g of x. X squared minus 3 divided by 2x plus 1. Well, it looks complicated, but let's plug that square root of minus 3 in and see what we get. So f of x divided by g of x evaluated at minus the square root of 3. So if we put minus the square root of 3 inside the squared term, see the x squared here, I'm going to plug that in. So what happens to a negative number when you square it? It becomes a positive number. What happens to a square root when you square it? Well, square root of 2 squared is 2. Square root of 3 squared is 3. And so we end up in the numerator, we end up with 3 minus 3. Well, that's easy enough. That's going to be 0. At that point, it doesn't really matter what we have down here in the denominator, as long as it isn't 0. Okay, that could make things complicated, but this is not 0. Okay, this is 2 times some negative number plus 1. And so this is simply 0 over some denominator, okay, some non-zero denominator, and that is going to be equal to 0. So like 0 fifths. If you have 1/5 of something, you take away 1/5, then you have 0 fifths. That's 0. You have nothing left. Okay. Now, what would happen though if we had divided g of x divided by f of x and evaluated it at the same point? If we had done that, then we would have had the 0 in the denominator, and that would be division by 0, and that's undefined. And so your result is undefined. That's just something to be careful about. It's something we'll see in the future. Okay? I hope this helped you out with your discussion assignment. If you have any questions, please let me know in the discussion board.